everybody, it's Shari here today, and I'm going to be making this hero card. I was inspired by watching Captain America, and I thought this would be an easy card to make using the lawnfawn dies. So the first thing I did was some research, obviously. So I looked up an image of Captain America's shield online, and I did a little sketch to figure out where my colors and everything would be. So I'm going to be using the Puffy star dies. I'm going to be using the smallest one there in the middle. And then I'm going to be using 3 of the circle stackable dies, just one size up from each other. So the next to smallest circle, that star fits right inside, and then I'm going to pick the other 3 circles that come out from that. So you can see there how that's going to kind of work out there. I'm going to set those aside. I'm going to set them on my little piece of paper here so they don't get lost. And so I have some Basil cardstock here in red, white, and blue. I believe the white is marshmallow, the blue is whirly pop, and I think the red may be wax lips. So I'm just going to stick my dies down, and I'm using the post-it note tape. I really like this tape actually. It is not quite as sticky as washi tape, and you can use it over and over, and so it really works really well. And it kind of breaks off on a nice clean edge, and you don't have the washi tape that kind of gunks up. So you can see here how I'm going to stack those pieces. So the big red circle, then the white, then the smaller red, the blue, and then the star. So I'm going to move those to the side, and I'm going to make my card base. And I'm using some charcoal Hero Arts layering paper, and the reason I like using this for the card base is because it's white on the inside. So it's easy to write a message, and it doesn't get lost on dark paper. Then I'm using some Basil Card Shop Taffy colored to cut a panel for the front of my card that's slightly smaller than the card front. I think I did it to where there's a 3/8 inch border all the way around. So I'm going to be using Riley's ABCs to make my custom sentiment. I thought Riley's was a good alphabet to use for this because it's kind of more masculine. You can see when you look at lawnfawn alphabets that there's some masculine and some feminine ones. So to use these, if you've never used alphabets before, they're on a square base and you just line them right up on your block. So I'm just going to fast forward it through here so you can see me put all these little pieces on my block. So it's going to say, "You're my hero." So you can see there how they line up really nicely. You just line them right up next to each other, and you use the grid on the block as your guide. So what I like to do once I get all my letters on here is kind of give them a test to see. So I have a scrap piece of paper here that's the same size as a card base, and I'm just going to test it. And they're spaced really well, except I think that it's a little too wide. It's really too close to the edges of my card panel. So I want to move the word hero down below the your and my. So I'm just going to move those letters down below. And you'll see that I'm kind of adjusting them a little bit. And I'm going to test it again to see if I like the placement, and I feel like the hero was a little too far to the right, so I'm just going to shift them over a little bit. Now another way you could do this, and I've done it before, is to mount the word hero on a separate stamp completely and just stamp them separately, and that way you don't have to keep shifting to get things to line up. So now I'm going to put my pieces together for my little shield here. So I'm going to start with a star, and I've just used some liquid glue, and then I'm just going to add each piece to the back of the one on top. So I'm just adding a little liquid glue so that I can kind of shift it around a little bit, get it centered. I was just getting a little extra glue off there, so try not to get too much because you don't want it to squish out the side. But if you put it on the smaller circle and then adhere that to the bigger one, obviously you're not going to have any extra sticking out. And this cardstock is nice and thick, so once you get these 5 pieces stacked one on top of each other, it kind of does give it some depth and some dimension. Now I'm taking that taffy piece and I'm going in with some frayed burlap distress ink and my little ink blending too, just distressing the edges some and darkening it up. Then I'm going to go in with old paper distress ink, which is a little bit lighter color, and just go around that one more time to kind of distress those edges. Kind of gives it a nice look, and then I just went all around to just blend it out nicely. those colors work really well on that taffy paper. So you can see kind of what that's going to end up like. So I'm going to actually adhere the little shield down with some temporary adhesive so that I can see where to put on my stamping. So I'm going to use the VersaFine ink here to stamp my sentiment just because it makes a really nice crisp impression. So I'm going to line that up, give it some good even pressure, and stamp that down. And there's that great custom sentiment. Now I wanted to add a little bit around it, so I decided to use the little stars from the Lucky Stars stamp set. So there's 4 little stars on there, 2 small ones, 2 big ones. 2 of them are outlines and 2 of them are solid. So I've just kind of mounted them on a couple blocks here, and I'm using my gold Delicata ink to just sprinkle a few of those little metallic stars around. So this ink has a nice shimmer to it, but it's not like too glittery, I don't think. So I think it really works on this card, but it has a nice shimmer to use it on something feminine too. So now that my stars and my sentiment are all stamped out, I'm just going to pull that shield off, get rid of that removable adhesive on the back, and put my stamps away so I don't make a mess here. Now I'm going to mount that card panel to the card base, just putting some adhesive on the back. I should have waited a little bit for my stars to dry a little more, just because that Delicata ink is a pigment ink, and so it takes a little while longer to dry. So when I flipped it over to put my adhesive, I got a little gold everywhere, but it's okay. It didn't smear too bad. Now to mount my shield to the front, I'm going to use some foam adhesive dots here just to pop it up off the back and make it stand out even more. It's kind of nice because all those stacked up kind of gives it a rounded look because that cardstock's really thick, so this will just make it stand out even more. I think that this card is a fun card to give to a special guy in your life, or it would be a great project for kids, good to give to kids, and the little shield would be great on cupcakes. I think it would be a great fun cupcake topper project. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.